More is better. This is how most people think when they hear the word nutrient. Unfortunately, this is not how it works, especially when it comes to iron. Because iron is a metal and too much iron is more common and more dangerous than most people know, as it turns into an oxidant that's basically like a free radical, and it turns into a worse oxidant than most of your favorite heavy metals like aluminium, lead and mercury. Iron is a very interesting nutrient. It's a transition metal with the atomic number 26, abundant in the Earth's crust, and we use it inside of one of our main semiconductors inside our body. It's called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is one of the main proteins inside of red blood cells that deliver oxygen to our cells. Basically, iron allows for our complexity. Now the problem is we have a hard time getting rid of excessive amounts, and excessive amounts become toxic to us, even more harmful than heavy metals. So just like most minerals, iron is both essential and toxic to us, and we have to find the optimal amount. But again, a big problem is once you are in the toxicity range, it's hard to get out of it. Now this is not what you were told. So for example, most women take iron supplements at least once in their life, often a lot more and for a long time period. This is a big problem because the child, if they're pregnant, can literally get brain damage from that or other developmental issues from this iron toxicity. Because you have to imagine it like this. Once you are in the toxicity range and there's no alarm bell that's going to tell you, oh, now you're iron toxic. Once you are in that range, iron basically becomes worse than most heavy metals, but it's kind of like maybe you're taking a supplement, and then this iron supplement is kind of like taking an aluminium supplement. Now, hopefully there's nobody out there that would tell you to take an aluminium supplement because it's a toxic element for us. But this is essentially what you are doing. And imagine that women are doing that during pregnancy, and mainstream doctors just still prescribe it to give it to people without a blink, without a word. Guess what? They also believe more is better. It gets even worse because those iron supplements are already in the food supply. So without you knowing, you were or are taking iron supplements just by consuming normal food. Or your child is consuming these breakfast cereals where they put a bunch of iron into that, and you might already be ruining your body, or your child is maybe already ruining its body with excessive iron. So how can you find out if you are in the toxic range? You might think that you can just do a blood test, and on this blood test you can see excessive iron amounts. This is not true. Another misconception is that excessive iron creates excessive red blood cells. Your body regulates that process well, and if you have too much iron, it's just going to put that somewhere else, just not in the red blood cells anymore. Iron toxicity first happens in the liver, which actually tries to protect all of the other organs. So all diseases linked to liver dysfunction can involve an iron toxicity. That would be non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, liver cirrhosis, fatty liver, liver cancer, even gallbladder problems, metabolic syndrome, and that includes type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. All digestive issues, including things like SIBO, candida, can involve an iron toxicity. Because in an iron toxicity, you have too much iron in the digestive tract. That also comes from the liver. And these microbes, most people think they are bad. They're actually your friend trying to hold on to the iron for you not to absorb it and get even more issues. And when you become fuller with iron, you become more sensitive to the voltage-gated calcium story. If that doesn't ring a bell, I highly recommend that you check out the video description, because it is the most important health topic at the moment, even more important than this video, and I can't share it here. So that's why it's down in the video description, available to you. And when your liver is incapable of storing more iron, and you keep adding iron via food without knowing it maybe, or via supplements, it goes to the other organs because your liver just can't hold on to it anymore. And mainly that's the brain and the heart. And this creates massive brain damage, might lead to insomnia, headaches, and to all kinds of neurodegeneration, especially things like Parkinson's, and to severe heart issues, cardiovascular issues. Now that is end stage. The key is, while iron accumulates in your liver, first of all, your liver function is decreased. That might lead to more oxidation in your blood. Basically, that's just a term for more inflammation inside of your body, because your liver just has these things. Either it can hold on to things and store it, or it can work. And if it has to store a bunch of things, it can't work at 100% capacity anymore. And the iron itself also starts to make more inflammation. This is bad for any disease because it is another stressor and your disease, whatever you specifically have, asthma, diabetes, whatever, will get worse from that. Most excessive iron therefore accumulates in the tissue, like in the liver tissue or later in the heart and brain tissue, which are harder to get out of there at this stage. So it's better for most people to fix this earlier than later, because it's gonna require more work later. And you can even be anemic and have this issue because you need other nutrients to even transport the iron. That's another reason why some blood tests won't really show any result of that. It's in the tissue and it can be bound to something like ferritin, but it could also not be bound to it. That's what most people don't understand. It could just be a metal inside of your cells. That is really hard to detect. In the US, India and other countries, they add something called iron filings. That is literally just iron from a block, grind it into a small powder, and that's what they put into the food because it's very cheap to do it this way. This of course has many issues, and one of those is digestive issues, because now you have these iron atoms inside of your digestive tract that you would normally not get from natural food, and so that can lead to a lot of digestive issues. And it's basically added to all of the processed foods, especially things like cereals and bread. Bread is one of these examples. Most people from the US usually notice that they can tolerate the bread in Europe so much more. And this is because of the iron filings. Most countries in Europe do not have these iron filings. That's really one of the main reasons why bread is so inflammatory in the US. So avoiding processed foods is obvious, but if you have this issue, then you need to do more. And also learning about nutrients and how to balance them inside of your body so that you're not in the deficiency range and not in the toxic range, but actually in the green range, where you're gonna feel good along the way, even in 2 years, is really gonna be key. And I've written an in-depth article on my nutrients fact sheet about iron and what other nutrients you need to regulate iron to not have this issue. And if you just realized, hey, I have this iron issue, maybe I have it, maybe I don't have it, just look into that thing. Maybe you're gonna find yourself. And if you really know for 100% for whatever reason that you have this issue but couldn't fix it, then reach out to me, because there are certain pathways that need to be activated basically. And you won't hear that from most people. Doing that with iron chelators is not really the story. You really need to get your inner system working properly, because even though iron is very hard for us to get rid of, we do have ways. Most people will tell you that's kind of impossible, it always accumulates. That's not 100% true. There are natural ways to do it. Most people just don't know about them. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. Highly recommend that you check out the voltage-gated calcium story down in the video description, and have a great day.